Something mind-boggling is unfolding in Israel. Signs that some believe could be linked to the Rapture. Strange events are stirring up conversations worldwide. Curious? So are we. Without waiting further, let's dive into this video to explore the strange end-time happenings that are buzzing people with surprise and terror. The land of Israel has played a crucial role in the history, culture, and religion of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It has seen the rise and fall of empires and the influence of various cultures such as the Assyrians, Babylonians, ancient Israelites, and Canaanites. It's like a cradle for civilizations, holding the stories of many cultures and traditions. Around 1000 BC, the Israelite tribes united under King Saul, followed by King David and King Solomon during the United Monarchy period. King Solomon built the first temple on the Temple Mount, a special place of worship symbolizing God's promise to the Jewish people. After the kingdom split, the Assyrians captured the northern kingdom of Israel in 722 BC. The Babylonians conquered the southern kingdom of Judah in 586 BC, destroying the first temple. When the Persians defeated the Babylonians, Cyrus the Great allowed Jewish exiles to return and rebuild their temple, marking the Second Temple period. In the 1st century CE, Christianity began in the region with Jesus of Nazareth. Unfortunately, in 70 CE, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple during the Jewish-Roman War. These historical events, along with religious texts and archaeological evidence, deeply influenced the Jewish people's cultural, religious, and historical identity, shaping the world at large. In the 1920s and 1930s, many Jews moved to Palestine, seeking refuge from anti-Semitism in Europe. This Jewish immigration, known as Aliyah, changed the demographic landscape, with Jews establishing agricultural settlements like kibbutzim and moshavim. However, tensions arose as Arab communities feared losing their land and identity, leading to violent clashes between Jewish and Arab communities due to conflicting goals in the region. The rebirth of Israel and Declaration of Independence. After World War II, Jewish people were scattered far from their homes due to the war. They lost their connection to Israel, a place that meant a lot to them. But something amazing happened, just like God promised. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the leader of the Jewish Agency, declared the establishment of the State of Israel. He highlighted the strong connection between the Jewish people and the land of Palestine, recognizing the challenges faced by Jews, particularly during the Holocaust, and expressing gratitude for international support. Let's travel back to the ancient world around 4,000 years ago. Imagine the dry landscapes of the Middle East and discover the earliest traces of Jerusalem, known as Rusalim, in ancient texts. Throughout history, Jerusalem has witnessed different powers, Canaanites, Jebusites, and Israelites, leaving their mark. Around 1000 BCE, King David played a crucial role by capturing Jerusalem from the Jebusites and making it the capital of the United Kingdom of Israel. Under King Solomon's rule, the city flourished with impressive structures, including the First Temple, showcasing its spiritual and political significance. Jerusalem is of immense importance to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. For Jews, it's the holiest city, where God's presence is strongly felt, and the Western Wall is a significant remnant of the ancient temple. In Christianity, Jerusalem is tied to Jesus' life, crucifixion, and resurrection, with the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as a vital pilgrimage site. In Islam, it's the third holiest city, featuring Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock as revered sites. Throughout history, Jerusalem has been ruled by various empires and civilizations, including Israelites, Romans, Arabs, Crusaders, and Ottomans, each leaving its mark. The city became a coveted prize for conquerors and a hub for cultural exchange. In the book of Ezekiel, there's a powerful prophecy in chapter 36, verse 24. It says, "I will take you out of the nations, gather you from all countries, and bring you back into your land." This means God promised to bring the Jewish people back from all the places they were scattered and make them His people again. Jeremiah in chapter 30 also talked about God comforting his people. God promised to bring them back from captivity and return them to the land given to their ancestors. These prophecies were all about gathering the Jewish people who had been sent away and bringing them back to the land God had promised them. Today, Jerusalem remains divided along religious and political lines. With its holy sites, the Old City is a mosaic of different faiths. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict adds complexity, with both sides claiming it as their capital. The city's status remains contentious in peace talks and international diplomacy. What is Israel now? When we look at Israel today, we can see that the old predictions from a long time ago are coming true. The land that was promised to the Jewish people is now their home. This shows us that it lasts a very long time when God promises something. The Jewish people returning to their homeland makes these old predictions come true. But there's even more to the story. Nowadays, Israel faces tough weather. It's hot and dry, and the land doesn't have much that grows naturally. But guess what? Something amazing is happening. The people of Israel are growing lots of crops from land that seemed like it couldn't grow anything. Even the trees in Israel produce more than trees in other places like Russia. How do they do it? They believe in a promise from the Bible, from a part called Zechariah chapter 8, verse 12. It says, "The seed will grow well, the vine will yield its fruit, the ground will produce its crops, and the heavens will drop their dew." This means they trust that God will make their crops grow even in tough conditions. It might sound surprising, but we can see God's promises happening right before us. It's so cool to see the fulfillment of these really old predictions. One of these predictions by a person named Zechariah is related to what's happening politically in the Middle East right now. In Zechariah's prediction in chapter 12, something big is foretold. It says, "I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. Judah will be besieged, as well as Jerusalem. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. Anyone who tries to move it will hurt themselves." These words from the really old prediction talk about Jerusalem being a strong force that stays put even when things are difficult. Third Temple and its importance. The Third Temple in Jerusalem holds great importance for many people, especially Orthodox Jews. It is considered more special than the old temples that no longer exist. Even though it hasn't been built yet, there is much excitement about it. For Orthodox Jews, it's not just a building, it's a highly significant symbol of holiness and a place for prayer. Since 1987, a group called the Temple Movement has been preparing to build the Third Temple. Despite the world's decreasing attention to religious matters, Orthodox Jews take this seriously. They have re-established a religious committee called the Sanhedrin to ensure that everything is done correctly according to religious rules when rebuilding the temple. Their goal is to construct it exactly as specified in religious teachings. Orthodox Jews believe that rebuilding the temple will improve the world. They believe that things can only get better once the temple is reconstructed. Interestingly, Israel's return to the Promised Land and the building of the Third Temple align with what was prophesied in the Bible by prophets like Ezekiel and Isaiah, who talked about God promising to bring back his people. There's a quote from Ezekiel in the Bible that says, "Then the nations will know that I, the Lord, make Israel holy when my sanctuary is among them forever." This means that when God's special place, the sanctuary, is with the Jewish people, everyone will recognize that Israel is special. Another quote from Isaiah says, "I will say to the north, 'Give them up,' and to the south, 'Do not hold them back.' Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth." This means that God wanted his sons and daughters from all over the world to return to the special land he promised them, creating a large gathering from everywhere. Although there's a belief that Yeshua serves in the true tabernacle in heaven, the desire to build the Third Temple is not just about a building. It is seen as a home for God's special presence. A quote from the Bible says, "Let them construct a sanctuary for me, that I may dwell among them." The prophet Ezekiel saw God's special presence leave the old temple, but also saw that it would come back and remain in a new, eternal home in Jerusalem. From a long time ago, a wise Jewish Philongambam stated that the Third Temple isn't merely a redo of history. It's a symbol showing that God is always with his people, forever. So building the Third Temple is not just about the past. It's about demonstrating that God is always present with his people. With this reconstruction, something mysterious was also found. An intriguing discovery was recently made beneath the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount. This mosque is significant to Muslims, who believe it was constructed by the important figure Abraham in ancient times. Surprisingly, underneath the mosque, a unique place was found where Jewish people used to perform rituals to purify themselves spiritually. This discovery is noteworthy because it indicates the importance of this place in various religions. A researcher named Robert Hamilton, who specializes in the study of ancient artifacts, made this discovery after an earthquake damaged the mosque. He uncovered a Jewish ritual bath called a mikveh beneath the mosque's floor. This mikveh held importance for Jewish people during the Second Temple period, serving as a place for spiritual purification before ascending to the special area of the Temple Mount. What makes this discovery particularly interesting is that it challenges previous beliefs. Some thought there was never an ancient Jewish temple at this location. However, this finding is changing historical perspectives. Researchers examining ancient records have found evidence supporting the existence of an ancient temple on the Temple Mount. It goes beyond mere archaeological findings. It highlights the profound importance of religion and culture in this significant place. And then there was the arrival of red heifers. Recently, Israel welcomed 5 red heifers from a Texas ranch, an event seen by many as fulfilling a prophecy about the construction of the Third Temple in Jerusalem. These young heifers, known for their entirely red color, hold special significance in Jewish law for purification rituals, particularly for priests who may come into contact with the deceased. The unique heifers, under a year old, are expected to remain flawlessly red. If so, they can be used to produce ashes, a vital element in Jewish purification practices. After a 7-day quarantine in Haifa, complying with Israeli Veterinary Authority regulations, they will move to 2 locations in Israel, one of which will be open to the public. They will be cared for until they reach 3 years old, the age at which they can be sacrificed to produce ashes according to Jewish law. The organization Boneh Israel, consisting of both Jews and Christians, played a key role in bringing these heifers to Israel. Byron Stinson, a Texas rancher and advisor for the organization, raised these cattle. Their arrival at Ben Gurion Airport was marked by a welcome ceremony attended by Temple Institute officials and other notable figures. In the Bible, the red heifer is of profound significance. Its ashes were traditionally used for the purification of the Israelites, as outlined in Numbers 19. Many interpret the appearance of a red heifer today as a sign of the imminent construction of the Third Temple and the awaited return of Christ. Traditionally, 9 red heifers have been sacrificed since the time of Moses, with none since the destruction of the Second Temple. Rabbi Maimonides even taught that the Messiah himself would sacrifice the 10th red heifer. The arrival of these 5 flawless red heifers from Texas to Israel on September 15, 2022, is considered by many as a fulfillment of prophecy and a significant step toward building a new temple. The Mosaic Law specifies strict criteria for a red heifer. It must be without defect or blemish and never wear a yoke, Numbers 19:2. The process of sacrificing a red heifer involves unique rituals, reflecting the sacrifice of Christ. Jesus, described as without blemish, was crucified outside Jerusalem, akin to the red heifer's sacrifice outside the camp. Just as the red heifer's ashes purify from death's contamination, Jesus' sacrifice cleanses from the penalty and corruption of sin and death. Further, there was the rediscovery of the ancient pool of Siloam. The pool of Siloam, measuring 53 feet long, 18 feet wide, and 19 feet deep, was a significant discovery. Crafted with skill using natural rocks, It sadly got destroyed during Babylon's attack on Jerusalem and the Second Temple. However, there's good news. It was rebuilt during Nehemiah's time and expanded under Herod the Great's rule. This pool held special importance as a place where poor and sick people sought healing, especially during the Feast of Tabernacles, celebrating the Israelites' freedom from Egypt. The Festival of Booths, or Sukkot, is a major event in Judaism, commemorating the Israelites' freedom and survival in the desert. People build temporary sukkahs, similar to their ancestors' shelters, expressing gratitude to God and seeking rain. Sukkot is celebrated in Jewish communities worldwide. During Sukkot, a priest would draw water from the pool of Siloam in a golden pitcher, singing psalms joyfully. He then poured the water on the altar's west side, a ritual tied to Isaiah 12:3. Isaiah 12:3 states, "With joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation." Pouring water during Sukkot symbolized drawing joyful water from the wells of salvation. It was a happy ceremony during the Festival of Booths, with the Pool of Siloam playing a crucial role. Despite the original pool's destruction, its rebuilding allowed people to continue celebrating and finding joy in their traditions. After the rebuilding of a Pool of Siloam, a water libation ceremony took place. On October 12th, a special ceremony called the water libation took place, resembling an ancient temple tradition. Led by special priests, Kohanim and Levites, with musical instruments, they followed the old paths from the old city of Jerusalem to Shiloh, also known as Siloam Springs. The parade included chanting, dancing, and silver trumpets. With a golden jug filled with water from the Shiloh pool, they set up a model altar and tools on the mountain summit, continuing ancient temple traditions. The ceremony concluded with the rare priestly blessing and the Hakel ceremony, occurring once every 7 years. While the Torah doesn't explicitly mention the water ceremony, people consider it part of Moses' oral teachings, celebrating like a happy holiday. This ceremony, lasting 15 hours in the Old Temple, continued with celebrations all night until the next morning's temple service. Participants from worldwide came for Sukkot celebrations, making it a universal day of worship. In the last 6 days of Sukkot, a water ceremony and wine pouring took place during the morning service. Priests filled a flask with spring water, journeying from the temple to the Shiloh spring at the base of Mount Moriah. 2 priests poured wine and water into special holes for the ceremony on the stone altar in the temple's courtyard. The Shiloh pool, also known as Shalom in English and Silwan in Arabic, is of biblical importance and is believable and revived vividly after the building of the Third Temple. Pilgrims once started their journey to Jerusalem at this pool for biblical feasts, cleansing themselves before presenting sacrifices in the inner court of the Temple Mount. Discovered in 2004, ongoing exploration reveals its historical significance. According to the Babylonian Talmud, the year after the Shemitah, a special year, is considered auspicious for the Messiah's arrival. The Book of Amos prophecy suggests the return of the tribe of Israel from other nations. The Talmud discusses challenges before the Messiah comes, emphasizing the uncertain need for another physical temple. Instead, building a spiritual temple involves living a devoted life to God and preparing for potential end-time challenges. Recent end-time prophecy fulfilled by the Chinese president. Chinese President Xi Jinping's recent statements have drawn global attention due to their extreme rhetoric, including metaphors and biblical references. Notably, Xi invoked imagery resembling Revelation 16:12-13, which talks about the drying up of the Euphrates River and the emergence of impure spirits resembling frogs, evoking apocalyptic connotations. This shift in language aligns with China's changing foreign policy and military posture. Traditionally prioritizing economic development and diplomacy, China has recently taken a more assertive stance globally. Instances include threatening Australia, issuing warnings about Taiwan, and even threatening to shoot down a U.S. representative's aircraft visiting Taiwan. Xi's directives to prepare for stormy seas highlight the perceived gravity of upcoming challenges, prompting speculation about China's intentions. These statements coincide with directives aimed at strengthening China's national security system and capabilities. Xi emphasizes the need for an effective risk surveillance and early warning system, enhanced national security education, and improved data and artificial intelligence security management. Xi's directives also emphasize China's military capabilities, which include the world's largest army. This has led to interpretations and speculations about the role of China's military in potential future conflicts. The reference to Revelation 16 has raised concerns about this. This biblical passage depicts a climactic battle, and some draw parallels between the armies described in Revelation and China's modern armed forces. Exploring the book of Revelation's prophetic insights, particularly Revelation 9:13-16, reveals details about a massive 200 million-strong army emerging from the east. The writings of the Apostle John provide intriguing imagery of a historic battlefield involving an unprecedented number of soldiers. While caution is advised against over-interpreting these statements, they indicate a growing sense of urgency within China's leadership amidst complex challenges. The combination of extreme rhetoric, biblical references, and directives for national security and military preparedness underscores the evolving landscape of China's foreign policy. So what do you think of the weird things happening in Israel? Comment below and subscribe for more.